Professor Zyxthala's crystalline tendrils quivered with barely contained excitement as she addressed her advanced xenobiology class at the Galactic University of Kepler, 442b. Today marked a historic occasion. The first human exchange student would demonstrate their species' defensive capabilities to an audience of the galaxy's most promising young minds. "Students, please welcome Marcus Chen from the planet Earth," she announced, her translator rendering her clicks and whistles into standard galactic. "He will be showing us what humans consider basic self-defense techniques." Marcus stepped forward, a lanky figure in simple combat fatigues. At barely 6 feet tall, he seemed unremarkable compared to the towering Vrathan warriors or the serpentine Solak in the audience. The assembled students, representing 12 different species, observed him with a mixture of curiosity and polite indifference. "Thank you, Professor," Marcus said, his voice carrying easily across the amphitheater. "I understand many of you come from species with natural armor, venom, or enhanced physical capabilities. Humans, well, we're pretty much naked apes who learned to use tools." A few chuckles rippled through the audience. The Kethmori delegates, resembling 6-foot-tall praying mantises, clicked their mandibles in what passed for laughter among their kind. Marcus gestured to the training area Professor Zyxthala had prepared, a simple obstacle course with various environmental hazards and combat dummies. "The professor asked me to demonstrate how an average human might handle a hostile encounter. I should mention that I'm not a soldier, I teach high school back on Earth." This revelation caused a stir. Several students exchanged glances. If this human wasn't even a warrior caste member, how formidable could their species truly be? "Let's start with a basic scenario," Marcus continued, approaching a combat dummy designed to simulate a Gorthak raider. 8 feet tall, armored, with multiple striking appendages. Imagine this opponent has surprise advantage and superior reach. What happened next would be discussed in xenobiology circles for decades to come. Marcus moved with a fluidity that seemed to violate physics. In one continuous motion, he ducked under the dummy's simulated strike, pivoted on his back foot, and delivered what humans called a palm strike to where the creature's solar plexus would be. The reinforced training dummy, designed to withstand attacks from species with natural weapons, buckled and cracked. The silence in the amphitheater was deafening. Of course, against a living opponent, that would likely collapse their respiratory system, Marcus explained conversationally, as if he hadn't just demonstrated enough force to cripple a creature twice his size. Now, if the opponent survives the initial counterattack. He demonstrated a series of movements that the computer systems had to slow down to 1/10 speed for the audience to follow. Joint locks, pressure point strikes, and leverage-based throws that used an opponent's mass against them. Each technique was explained in the same casual tone a teacher might use to describe photosynthesis. A Vrathan student, her rocky carapace pale with shock, raised a trembling appendage. "Human Marcus, these techniques, how long does your species train to master them?" "Oh, these are just basics," Marcus replied. "Most humans could learn this stuff in a few months of casual practice. I've been doing martial arts since I was 12, but that's pretty common where I come from." Professor Zyxthala's tendrils had gone completely rigid. Her extensive research on human physiology had revealed their lack of natural weapons, relatively fragile bones, and modest muscle density compared to other species. Yet this average human had just demonstrated combat effectiveness that would make a Solak assassin envious. "Perhaps," she managed, "you could explain the theoretical basis for these basic techniques?" Marcus nodded enthusiastically. "Sure. See, humans evolved as persistence hunters. We're not the strongest or fastest, but we're incredibly adaptable. Our combat systems developed around using minimal energy for maximum effect. We study anatomy, leverage, momentum, psychology, basically, we weaponized everything." He moved to another demonstration area. "For instance, humans discovered that most humanoid species have similar structural weak points." He indicated various locations on an anatomical chart. Joints that bend in only one direction, nerve clusters that cause temporary paralysis when struck, pressure points that disrupt balance or consciousness. A Kethmori student's compound eyes were wide with horror. Your species systematically studied how to disable other life forms. Well, initially we studied how to disable each other, Marcus said matter-of-factly. Humans spent most of our evolutionary history fighting other humans. We got pretty good at it. The implications hit the class like a shockwave. This wasn't a warrior species with natural weapons, this was something far more terrifying. This was a species that had turned warfare into a science, and violence into an art form. I should probably mention, Marcus added, warming to his subject, this is just unarmed combat. Humans really excel when we get creative with tools. Did you know you can make an explosive device from common household chemicals? Or that the principles of leverage can turn a simple stick into a... That will be sufficient, Professor Zwaxthala announced, her voice pitched high enough to make several students wince. Class dismissed. Emergency faculty meeting in my office. Now. As the terrified students filed out, many casting fearful glances at the still smiling human, Marcus called after them cheerfully, same time next week? I was going to cover psychological warfare and tactical deception. The last thing Professor Zwaxthala heard before sealing her office was one student whispering to another, no wonder the Galactic Council fast-tracked their membership application. In the days that followed, enrollment in xenobiology courses mysteriously plummeted, while applications for Earth Cultural Exchange programs saw an unprecedented spike. After all, as the saying goes, if you can't beat them, you'd better understand them. And understanding humans, as Professor Zwaxthala was rapidly learning, was a far more complex, and dangerous, undertaking than anyone had anticipated.